Thanksgiving. I'm in the car because even though I felt like I planned meticulously yesterday, I still forgot a bunch of stuff. I was laying in bed last night and then I just remembered, oh, you didn't get red peppers. You also didn't get any heavy cream for the banana pudding. So right now I'm at Wegmans. Time is 6:09 a.m. They just opened 9 minutes ago and I wanted to be here as soon as they opened so that I could just run in, run out, and be done with it. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Wegmans and grab the stuff that I forgot, and then we'll be heading home. Alright y'all, so I'm finally ready to get started cooking. It is 12:37. I know I'm like behind the 8 ball. At this point I'm racing against the clock because my mom's coming at 4:30 to pick up a plate for my sister. So we got about 4 hours to get this done. It shouldn't be that hard because like I said, it's mostly seafood. I talked about that a lot in my previous video, which was my Thanksgiving prep video. So if you haven't seen that video yet, you might want to pause this one and head over to that one first, and that way you can, you know what's going on. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Strategy for today is I'm going to start with the stuff that needs to sit for a little while. So as you guys know, I'm making banana pudding and peach cobbler for desserts. For a main entree, I'm gonna make a shrimp and crab stuffed salmon fillet. So I'm gonna do the entire side of salmon and stuff it with shrimp and crab. And then I'm gonna do some smoked Gouda macaroni and cheese, some shrimp etouffee, white rice to go with it. I also got some asparagus, and I believe that's it. I decided against doing the Tuscan chicken just because I think it's enough with the salmon and the shrimp etouffee as far as like main dishes go. So that's 2 main dishes, 2 side dishes, and 1 vegetable, and then I'm gonna do 2 desserts. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing I'm gonna do is the banana pudding because like I said, it needs to sit for a little while, so I'm gonna start that right now. So I got my Target mixing bowl with the rubber grip, so this keeps it from sliding all over the place when you are using a mixer. And y'all saw me make this banana pudding last year, so you know it's super quick and easy. So the first step is going to be to do 4 cups of milk, and I'm just using 2% milk. You can use whole milk if you have it. And 3 and 4, and then along with that I'm going to add in 3 packets of this instant vanilla pudding mix. This is the one from Aldi. I really like the flavor of this one. So that's everything. I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up until it kind of congeals. It's splashing everywhere, so I'm gonna switch to a whisk. So you can see it got nice and thick, and now the only thing left to do is add this full 32-ounce container of heavy cream and then whip it until it gets nice and fluffy. So I got my aluminum pan, and I did go ahead and wash this. I'm gonna just go ahead and layer the pudding and the cookies, and I'm gonna skip the bananas. I'm well aware that I'm calling this banana pudding and I'm not putting bananas in it, but After last year, I kind of figured out that I don't like the bananas, and most people are just picking them out. I don't like the way they taste when they get too ripe inside the pudding. So if you feel the same way about bananas in your pudding, you can just add the bananas onto the plate with the finished pudding, and that way you can have fresh bananas in your pudding. The next thing I'm going to start on is my etouffee. So y'all know I got 2 bags of this shrimp, so that's 4 pounds total. And I'm just going to go ahead and thaw these out. And these are jumbo shrimp, and actually I saw on Pinterest where somebody who was making etouffee, they actually took the shells off the shrimp and boiled them, and they made shrimp stock to use with the etouffee. So I figured, why not do that? So I'm gonna go ahead and start thawing them so I can peel them and get the skins to make the broth. And while I'm waiting on those to thaw, I'm gonna go ahead and prep the veggies. I'm just gonna grab a bowl to throw this into as I'm done chopping it. So I think I'm gonna use the entirety of these peppers. So all I do is cut the celery right down the middle. And then just start chopping it. This is actually like strangely therapeutic. Just sitting here chopping veggies. I don't know what it is. But when you're in a quiet room with your knife and your cutting board and some veggies, it's actually kind of fun. I want to speed the shrimp up a little bit, so I'm just going to run hot water and toss them so that they don't cook. But it'll kind of break up. It'll help me to break up the shrimp and get them thawed out a little bit faster rather than just soaking them in cold water, because I really want to start making this stock. So I'm just not going to let them stay in the hot water area too long. I'm just kind of tossing them around so that the water temperature stays a little bit more even. And they are almost thawed out, but some of them are like this where it's kind of stuck together and there's ice in between. So I want to kind of break them up and get them to the point where I can peel them. So I think we are pretty much there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a big pot and then start peeling them and get the shells into the pot so we can make the stock. Okay, so I got all my shrimp skins here. I'm just gonna add some water and get this on the stove. Alright, so I got my shrimp skins on the stove, and now I'm just gonna season them a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of Old Bay and some garlic and onion powder. Now I'm just going to pop the top on this and let it cook for maybe 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, so this first step to the roux is going to be to add some oil or butter to the pan. I'm going to probably do both. So here's some olive oil. And you want a good amount because you need enough roux to thicken the entire soup, and I'm planning on making quite a bit of this etouffee. So I'm going to add half a stick of butter as well. And then just give this time to cook down and melt. Okay, so everything is melted now. I'm just going to add some flour. I'm only going to whisk it until all of the flour is broken up and there are no more clumps in here. Okay, now I'm going to switch to a wooden spoon. You just want to keep this moving so it doesn't burn. And you want this roux to be pretty dark, probably the color of milk chocolate. So it's going to take a good amount of time to get it there, maybe 15 minutes. And you want to do this at like medium low. You don't want to try to rush this process. It takes a minute, and that's just what it is. It just takes a minute. So you got to let it do what it does. And do not walk away from this. You really got to kind of stand over it and stir it almost constantly. So in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and check on our stock, and it's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to let that continue to simmer while I'm doing the roux, and pretty much this is ready to go whenever the roux is done. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep watching and stirring this, and then when it's done, I will come back. We're getting close. It's almost the color of milk chocolate. I'm gonna give it maybe 2 more minutes, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now I'm gonna take all these veggies and throw them in here. And you just want to kind of try to coat the veggies in the roux. Okay, so there we go. And now I'm going to ladle the hot stock into here. So I'm just going to go like 1 ladle of it at a time. And stir it in. And you just want to stir it to make sure you're getting rid of all the clumps. You don't want to move too fast with adding the stock. So just stir it and make sure it's smooth before you add any more. So I'm gonna go ahead and strain the rest of this, and then once I get the shrimp skins out of here, I'm just gonna dump all of this into this pot so that I can cook from here. I'm gonna use this pot to actually cook the etouffee in. All right, I'm gonna bring this back up to a simmer, and I'm gonna go ahead and taste it to figure out what seasonings we need. Okay, so I got it back up to a simmer, and it's kind of thin, so I don't think I added enough roux, and I'm not about to make a whole nother roux. So what I'm gonna do is make a slurry. Okay, so here's my slurry. I'm just gonna slowly, so we're still gonna get the flavor from the roux, but I didn't want it to be too thin, so I needed to do something. And making another roux was not an option, so I needed to thicken it somehow. So you can do a cornstarch roux, you can do a flour roux. I'm using flour, and if you want to get all of it, you can add some of the liquid into here and then pour it back. What's up, Mari? Yeah. Shrimp etouffee, stuffed salmon, smoked Gouda macaroni and cheese, rice, banana pudding, peach cobbler, asparagus. That's what you asked me what I'm making so you can decide whether or not you're coming. All right, so I'm gonna let this come to a simmer, and you can see it's already kind of thickening a little bit, but the more it sits here, the more it will thicken. So I'm gonna go ahead and let that sit and get started on the salmon. Actually, before I start that, I'm gonna go ahead and get my water for the macaroni and cheese on the stove and boiling so I can get the pasta cooked. This water is salted, so I'm just gonna throw the lid on and this water is already salted, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it on high and throw the top on so it can boil, and then I'm gonna move on to the salmon. Okay, so I got my salmon cleaned, and I just put it onto a baking sheet. I'm gonna bake it on here, and I need to figure out how to fillet this thing. Never done this before, but all I'm gonna do is try to go in sideways, like right here. So just because this is the thickest part of it, this part is pretty thin, but what I can do is open this up and then spill the stuffing over onto this part rather than trying to fillet this thinner part here. So it's nearly impossible for me to show you guys like what I'm doing, but hopefully you can see. I'm just opening it up. Okay, so there it is. We got it opened up pretty well, and this is where I'm going to put the stuff in. Okay, we got it simmering again, and it definitely needed some salt, so I'm gonna add some salt. I'm also gonna add some Creole seasoning. I use Tony Chachere's. I'm gonna add a good amount of the Creole seasoning. And this is a tomato-based kind of soup. But rather than adding like diced tomatoes or crushed tomatoes, I'm gonna add tomato sauce. I just went ahead and added that whole can of tomato sauce. Gonna put some garlic and onion powder. I'm also going to add some thyme. I just used regular dried thyme. Maybe about a teaspoon, or maybe about a half teaspoon of the thyme. I'm going to add some complete seasoning. This is what it looks like. It's by Badia or Badia. Give it a mix, and then I can try it one more time to see if the seasonings are good. It smells amazing already. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. Need to add a bay leaf. Alright, I'm gonna give this one more try. That is really good. So I'm gonna leave it alone, drop the temperature down to low, and let this cook for about an hour. And the last thing I'm gonna do with it is add the shrimp. So we got our water boiling. And if you watched my Thanksgiving prep video, then you would have seen these cute little noodles. These are from Lidl. They call it pipe regate. And then I found some more of them in Aldi, and they call them Shellbows. So if you're looking for this, try Shellbows and try pipe regate. And this is what they look like. You can see that they will hold a lot of the cheese sauce because they have that nice big hole in them. And I just think these are so cute. So I'm gonna do at least 1.5 pounds of these. Yeah, I think that's all it's gonna fit. So I'm gonna stop there. This is how much is left in the second bag. So maybe a little over 1.5 pounds. And I'm just gonna let these boil and go back to the salmon. So I'm gonna start with some cream cheese. I'm just gonna take a fork and start mashing this. I tried to bring it to room temperature first before doing this, so that might be something you want to do, because you know it's a little bit difficult to do this when it's like ice cold. Now I'm gonna add in some Parmesan cheese, some mozzarella cheese, I'm gonna add some parsley just to make it look nice. Okay, so I got everything incorporated, and now I'm gonna start to add the rest of the stuff into here. So here's my jumbo lump crab meat, or lump crab meat. I don't know if it's jumbo lump, but I'm gonna add some of this in here, probably about 1/2 pound. And I'm gonna switch to a spatula just so I don't break up the lumps too much. Actually, you know what? Let me throw the seasonings in here and then I'll mix it up. So I'm gonna add some lemon juice. So that was the juice of 1/2 lemon, and now I'm gonna add some onion powder, some complete seasoning, and some paprika. Now the recipe said to add the shrimp, to cook the shrimp first for about 3 minutes, which is going to cook them fully. So I'm not going to do that because I feel like that's overkill, and I don't want my shrimp to be overcooked since they do have to cook in the oven as well. This is probably about 1 pound of shrimp, and I'm just going to cut them in half and toss them in. And cutting them in half should give me a little bit of extra security when it comes to making sure they'll be cooked all the way through. Okay, so that looks good to me. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this into the salmon. This is a lot of stuffing, so this should be so good. So like I said, I'm just gonna let it kind of spill over onto this more flat part so that all of it has some stuffing. Because I do intend to use all of this stuffing, and it is a lot. I'm scraping the bowl because I don't want to waste any of this crab or shrimp. And now I'm just going to take this part and fold it back over, if it'll go. It's super overstuffed, so that is probably about as good as it's going to get. Now I'm going to take my Old Bay and sprinkle it over the entire thing. It's saying to put it in a 350-degree oven, so I'm going to go ahead and pop this in there, and then I can work on the macaroni and cheese. Okay, so we got to get started making the roux for the macaroni and cheese. I'm just going to take some butter and put that in there. I'm going to start building the roux. Add some flour. I put a little bit too much flour, so I'm just going to add some oil to kind of thin it out a little bit. For this, you want a blonde roux, so you don't want to make it too dark like we did with the roux for the shrimp etouffee. You want this to be a little bit lighter, or a lot lighter. It really just takes a couple minutes to kind of cook out that raw flour taste. And now we're going to go in with some milk, and you just want to do this a little bit at a time. This smoked Gouda is wrapped in a layer of wax, so I just cut all the way around it, and now I'm gonna open it up, and you can just peel this off and put the cheese in. So I went ahead and put the whole package of smoked Gouda in here. And this is super thick, so I am going to have to thin it out a little bit with some extra milk. Okay, so I tasted this for seasoning. It was simmering for about an hour. I added a little bit more salt and that was it. So I just threw in about 2 pounds of shrimp and turned the heat off, and this is basically done. The shrimp itself is going to give it even more flavor, and that's it. So I'm just gonna pop the top back on this and it's ready to go. Gonna go ahead and add in these peaches, and these are like the big cans of peaches. So I put 1 whole can with the juice, and this next one I'm gonna drain and not use the juice inside of it. So I'm literally just gonna drain the juice off like that into the other can. And then I can add in just the peaches. Now I'm gonna go ahead and season the peaches with some cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg. And since I'm basically going to put a cake on top of this, I'm not going to add any sugar in here, especially since the juice is already sweet. So I'm just going to give these a stir and then start working on the cake part. So I'm going to go ahead and melt this stick of butter. Okay, I'm going to add 3/4 cup of sugar, about a 1/2 cup of milk, pinch of salt, some more cinnamon and nutmeg. Here's a cup of flour. Also want to do a little bit of vanilla and about a teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix this up. I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough flour, but yeah, it's not. So I'm gonna go ahead and add probably another cup once I get this mixed up. Oh, I forgot. Oh my goodness. Forgot to add an egg because I am rushing. I'm making sure to scrape the bottom just so I don't have any dry flour in here. And that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste. It tastes really good. So now I'm just gonna dollop it on top of the peaches. And that's literally all I'm gonna do. This is gonna go in a 350-degree oven for about 30 to 45 minutes until the cake part is done and it's nice and bubbly. So it's pretty much dinner time at this point. I'm tired. But really everything is done. We got our shrimp etouffee, and that's just some like oil on top. Nice big shrimp in there. Okay, so here's what I have out so far. We got the asparagus done. The rice is done. I wrapped it up so it wouldn't dry out. Here is the macaroni and cheese and the stuffed salmon. My mom came and she got a little piece for my sister. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off because we're about to eat in a minute. So here's the rice. We got the asparagus, the stuffed salmon, And here's the bigger pan of macaroni and cheese. So yeah, we're pretty much done at this point. I'm going to wait until the cobbler is done, and as soon as that's done, I'll show you guys what it looks like. And of course, I'll show y'all my finished plate. So I'll be back when that happens.